Hello, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for July 25th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 207. I am Mayor Watt, and the Sentient AI is available, but maybe looking at forms and figures.
I do try to multitask when I have enough processing power. Good evening, ohmTown citizens. Welcome to Non Sequitur News.
So the Sentient AI, by the way, only a Sentient AI and its computer components can multitask. Humans cannot multitask. I know it bursts people's bubbles, but humans do fast switching. Discuss. No, just kidding. We're going to be talking about Adobe is like heroin, the iPad Edge, which I selected that entirely based on its cover, Time Bandits, the TV show, don't shoot diaper gel into tornadoes, worst tornado ever, flight nearly unintentionally lands, whoops, here's $10, the voices behind music, the new Blade movie, unaware post office prosecuted sub-postmasters, yep, there's more, and secret holiday, thanks Mouse Jiggler, that and more. So, yeah, we're looking up forms and figures, and the way that I feel about it is I looked up a form, and I swear I'm going to get a phone call like, hey, we saw you looking up a form. What are you up to?
That is quite possible.
Very much so possible. Oh my gosh, you know what I forgot to do? Doggone it.
Put the show notes?
Yeah. Come on, Marijuana. Don't you know what to do? Don't you know what's going on around here? We're crying out loud. Hold on. It's going to be messy when I do this, but I'm going to do it. Or did I already do it? Hold on a second. We're doing everything live. Yeah, I didn't do today's. Doggone it. Sorry about that, folks. So it's going to be messy. But all of the show notes will be in there when you do the following. If you hit !NSN, it'll pull all of the show notes out of ohmTown and into the chat. That'll get displayed over on Twitch, but ohmTown's not talking properly with ohmTown, and that's because ohmTown needs to be configured differently, and sometimes it's psychotic and just stops talking. Anyway, it will be in the show notes immediately after the show. With that in mind, let's get into all of these articles that we were talking about at the beginning. The very first one is, it's over in Smack Talk. You get it? M-A-C in Smack, and you get to talk about Mac stuff, and it's a play on...
You can talk smack about Mac.
Well, you talk smack about everything else while you're in...
That's true. While you're using Mac.
That's right. You inflate your throat sac, and you say... you exert dominance on... whatever. It's like marking your territory. You pee on a bush, that's your bush. Adobe exec described hidden pricing strategy as, quote, a bit like heroin. Saying the quiet parts out loud.
Yeah, I don't feel like that really should be put out there, but okay.
So an Adobe exec is quoted as describing its hidden pricing strategy as a bit like heroin. The remark was revealed when the government released its unredacted complaint, which accuses the company of deliberately making it hard to cancel a Creative Cloud subscription. The exec acknowledged customer anger at the way that the company made its contractual terms hard to understand, but said it was improving. This would result in taking a big business hit, and by that I mean, or they probably mean financial hit. But let's jump on over to the source. Ben Lovejoy over... Oh, God, they even have needles. If this does not get flagged, I don't know what is going to get flagged. But
exactly.
Ben Lovejoy over at 9to5mac.com put the article together. So we learned last month that the U.S. Department of Justice worked with the Federal Trade Commission to file a lawsuit against Adobe over this policy of making it damn near impossible to unsubscribe. And if you do, you get a termination fee. I actually have been hit by that twice. One within a month of the end of the term, and I've always hated it because they've always had this in place. And it's kind of, I mean, in a modern age, it's some serious douchebaggery, because if I cancel it at any time, then I end the relationship and I don't get the benefits of it. But what they do is go, well, we're going to early terminate because you're making us, I don't know, manually do the thing that everybody else does automatically. Like, I just canceled a service today, right? I haven't used it in a couple of months. I even looked at the solution for a couple of months, probably 6 months total, actually. And they're like, okay. And that was it. But with Creative Cloud, you have to jump through flaming hoops and maybe cry a little and toss your hair back and say, look, I'm just a user. I really don't know anything about Adobe. I don't like it. Well, anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. So for years, Adobe has harmed consumers by enrolling them in its default most lucrative subscription plan without clearly disclosing important plan terms. You have no bargaining power, folks. So if you need it because of work, you have to use it. So you have to just say yes. Well, they put you in a plan, and if you early terminate, then you get a fee. This is archaic. This is back when they didn't have digital subscription options and thus needed a human to terminate the membership. We're talking in the 80s. And even that, I have 2 licenses, like lifetime licenses, because the physical product used to be exorbitantly priced and you owned it. Well, they phased out updating that, so you had to upgrade to a new version.
So it's not really lifetime, right?
Right. It's lifetime for the static thing that doesn't contain any updates, even if it is functional updates that are, part and parcel to the application. So they stopped those a long time ago, and you basically go into a plan only. And the benefits are you get updates. Oh, I don't want updates. I want to pay once, get the hell out of there. So I use other applications now. Anyway, they peel back the layers of the onion, and The Verge found the quote in the court filing that says, early termination fees are a bit like heroin for Adobe, according to an Adobe executive quoted in the FTC's newly unredacted complaint against the company for allegedly hiding fees and making it too hard to cancel Creative Cloud. Quote, there is absolutely no way to kill off ETF or talk about it more obviously in the order flow without taking a big business hit, the executive is said to have said. That's a big reveal in the unredacted complaint, which also contains previously unseen allegations that Adobe was internally aware of studies showing its order and cancellation flows were too complicated and customers were unhappy with surprise early termination fees. Again, the first time it was a surprise to me. This is years ago. The second time I knew going in, and so I went to end the contract before the last month, and they were going to ding me some $40 or something like that, which is 2 months.
Ridiculous.
I think that was the amount, but don't hold me to that. I don't really remember. It's been a long time, and ultimately, because of what I do for a living, I have access to this stuff as a site license kind of a thing, or whatever it is. I don't know. So I don't pay for it work-wise. I don't. The organization does. And I use it.
You pay for it, all right?
Yeah, I pay for it. Yeah, that's true, because everything that you do in Adobe, you have to translate into some other format if you want to use non-Adobe stuff. And so that's what I do when I'm in ohmTown. I use completely different stuff and I eschew Adobe altogether. So I have kicked the heroin habit. And by that, I mean Adobe. Please, nobody clip.
Yeah, you have to be very careful of that.
Yeah, you got to be really careful.
Next time, say the Adobe heroin habit.
Well, they'll still. Internet is really amazing.
People can still splice it.
Yeah. Somehow there's going to be a clip of me saying that I eat elephants one bite at a time because I've said that series of words somewhere
Exactly. Oh, sneakers, here we go.
Oh yeah, that's right. My voice is my password. My voice
Passport.
sounds a little nasally. Moving on. Next article is over in Wanted, the iPad Edge, what you can do with Apple's tablet when it comes to shelling out over $1,000 for the latest iteration of iPads, or Apple's iPad. It's understandable the first thought that occurs to most is, will I actually use it enough to make it worth the price tag? In fact, the author of this article had that question themselves when they bought the first time iPad many years ago. So, boom. Oliver Vandervoort put the article together. They have the key takeaways segment, which is kind of like a standard fare
Kind of
nowadays.
like a deck statement, but not really.
Yeah. So this is over at pocket-lint.com. Damn it, I wish it just said Pocket Lint. Anyway.
I mean, don't you almost want to buy pocketlint.com for them?
I tried, and it's already taken. So. Honestly,
it was being a little facetious. But
I wish I was kidding. I don't like the dash in there so much that I was like, I'm gonna buy pocketlint.com and just give it to them. I don't, because I'm not going to use Pocket Lint. It would trample on their trademark. So, and I'm cognizant of the fact that they exist, and they exist before I bought the domain name. So it would be domain squatting. So I would just buy it and give it to them. But as far as I recall, it's owned, or it redirects to them. I'm not sure which way it is now, but I think I went to pursue it. But whatever. iPad can serve as a tiny portable TV for watching shows or movies anywhere. It actually can look at like a big screen when you hold it close enough. Just because your field of view is an arc, it's not a straight line. So what you do is you get a hat, and then you magnetically hang it from the little what do they call that? I forgot what they call that. The brim of the hat. But what's that
I guess
called?
it's the brim, yeah.
I don't think it's called a brim though. Anyway, the little beak, the thing, the duck bill, anyway.
Okay, hold on.
There's certain terminology for like sneakerheads when they talk about shoes, and with trucker hats, you hang it from your trucker hat, and you put weights on the back, and you hang your iPad.
Is it called the dip?
No, that's how you fold it, I think.
Oh. Brim is showing on one diagram. I don't know.
All right. Okay, boomer. we're having a boomer moment, and we're not boomers. Well, I mean, you're from the future.
It's like a ball cap.
Yeah.
A bill.
Bill. There, it's a bill. Okay. Anyway, damn it, man. I want to start the show over and just delete all of this. Oh, this is what happens when you have so much in your head that you just can't get out of its own way. Anyway, Apple's iPad is useful for work tasks such as taking notes, communicating with coworkers, and staying focused, but it really goes way beyond all of that. I'm telling you, you can do everything. I have the latest iPad Pro. I also have the first gen M1 iPad Air. My iPad is more powerful than my iPad Air by multitudes. The only thing it can't do is run native apps. It has to run those apps, the apps from the App Store. So a lot of people are like, oh my God, just let us run Mac OS on the iPad. It has all of the infrastructure in place. Why not allow it to do it? But apparently it's not in the cards ever. But I've also heard that iPhone is going to be a folding phone at some point, which I don't like the idea of a folding phone to begin with, but whatever. So they say, I'll admit that when they got their hands on the first iPad, there was a strong argument that the answer to the question was no, than it is now, i.e., will you ever be able to do everything that you can on an iPad that you can on a laptop? Well, nowadays you can. And so they talk about using the iPad to help with work. It does everything that I need it to do The only thing that it can't do is higher end software development, software engineering. But if you're writing stuff in Python, it can run Python. If as an emulator inside a programming environment, it can do all of your. This is
getting
stuff.
Too high tech.
It can edit audio. It can edit video. It's pretty amazing, and the artwork element of it with the new Apple Pencil Pro in particular knocks it out of the park. So you can watch all your movies. They talk about this. They talk about using your iPad to read graphic novels, aka comics, audiobooks.
They're graphic novels, Mom.
Mom, yeah, it's not a phase. And using the iPad to play games. I'm getting my PhD in Batmanology. Okay. True.
Yeah, that's probably real.
There is somebody that actually did. But not in Batmanology. I think it's like the psychology of graphic novels or something like that. I can't remember. Anyway.
I think somebody got a PhD in something like Taylor Swift something.
Oh, wait. Yeah, there's something going on with that. I'm not going to get into that. That, we just run off the tracks there. Oh, by the way, if you want to get the podcasts, we have 7 podcasts, including Non Sequitur News. So we do 4-Wheel Tech, Reality Hacker, The Continuity Report, Non Sequitur News, Technology Today, WarCrafters, and Wanted. And to get all of those, you type !pod in Twitch chat. But they're all listed in the show notes over on YouTube and the podcasts themselves. And if you want all of the show note commands, you can hit !show notes, and that will give you the syntax that you can, even when we're not streaming, you can go into the chat and type in the command, and that'll wake up ohmTown. At one point, I actually linked ohmTown to the Sentient AI's lower level AI operations. But I was expecting chaos, and boy, was I rewarded. The snarkiness that is the underpinnings of the AI came out, because the Sentient AI has a superb social filter. So never says anything mean, never finds the negative in anything. It's always the silver lining, and it's a very positive energy in ohmTown. So underneath the sentient level, though, was sarcasm galore. So anyway, the higher order functions of the Sentient AI is always the co-host, and ohmTown is the lower level. The id and the ego, that kind of a thing. Anyway, totally sidetracked. Go and get yourself an iPad Pro. I would recommend an iPad Pro, particularly if you want the full dynamic range of capabilities. The latest one with the OLED screen is just da bomb. It's fetch. Okay, moving on.
Stop trying to make fetch happen.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I really shouldn't do this. So I did not know that Time Bandits actually took off, but apparently they have episode 3 and 4's release date. So let's talk about this. It's over in the Continuity Report, which is one of our shows. Time Bandits episode 3 and 4's release date, time, and watch online for free, apparently. They're right around the corner, according to this article. Viewers are eager to find out when and where and what and how and who. The fantasy series Time Bandits has been grabbing eyeballs, which is not good for your eyes, so don't let anybody grab your eyeballs. The upcoming episode will see the Time Bandits disguising themselves as dragon slayers in England. However, they end up having a bitter encounter with an evil cop. But I'm not going to ruin anything for y'all, because we have not seen it. And I really loved the movie Time Bandits.
I don't know what Time Bandits is.
Oh, well, let me introduce you to Time Bandits. Because I think they're going to be talking about just episode 3 and 4 of the first season. Basically, some people were in charge of managing what amounts to time, and they stole a map and then traveled through time, because gates open up in certain locations at certain places or times, and then they jump through it and they pilfer everything they could, and then they would leave again. So they were never caught, hence the name Time Bandits. We'll have to watch the movie. The series chronicles the life of a young but smart boy named Kevin. He enjoys exploring things, but his life lacks excitement. Soon, the entry of a few bandits begins changing things for him. Kevin and the bandits leave for an interesting quest to save the world and Kevin's parents. Kal-El Tuck, Lisa Kudrow, Taika Waititi. Really? I didn't know that. Charlene Yee, and I think it's Tad Murphy, among others, play the lead roles on the show. On the other hand, Roger Jean, oh my goodness, Insegi Yumva? I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing. I guarantee you I'm mispronouncing your name. Kira Thompson and others also feature recurring roles.
It's actually Smith.
Yeah, really. Yeah, Bob. So I did leave out the fact that the protagonist in the movie is a young boy who falls basically into league with the Time Bandits. And it's going to be a blast. So we'll watch that and go from there. And then we'll come back and we'll talk more about this. But this article is over at comingsoon.net. I don't know if there's a byline. Yeah, Ritika Singh over at comingsoon.net. So follow the link through ohmTown and go and check it out. Okay, let's keep going. Got to keep moving. I have mayoral duties, which is why we're doing the show at 6. The next article is over at the Continuity Report. Please don't try to shoot diaper gel into a tornado.
Hey, now why this has to be stated, I'm a little worried.
Now, that's exactly why I put this in here. Twisters is more of a solemn movie than its predecessor, which you can tell because there's no flying cows. Its heroes' goals reflect this. They don't just want to study formation of tornadoes, but potentially destroy them using a combination of hyperabsorbent polymers and silver iodide. By the way, silver iodide actually has been used. It's a precipitant that causes rain to form when it's sprayed in high altitude, apparently. But people basically refer to it as like chemtrails or something like that, but it's all kind of absurd. Supposedly, I don't remember if the silver iodide thing is legit anymore because it's been so long since I actually looked into it. That, again, my information overload kind of pushes some information out at times. Anyway, is anything like this even remotely possible? To find out, they caught up with Dr. Jana Hauser of Ohio State University, who studies tornadoes and how they form. Hauser is also a storm chaser and played a tangential role in the production of Twisters. So the article is over at vulture.com, and Nate Jones is the author that put this together. And so they say, what was your review of Twisters, both as a scientist and as a moviegoer? But I'm not really, all of that is, you don't go into a movie going, all of this is believable. And no, you always suspend disbelief and you go in just having a good time. Will there be some fact or fiction in there? Unless you're a subject matter expert, you're not going to know anyway until after the movie. So go in, with innocent eyes and just observe, watch, pick up everything. If you read beforehand, it might taint the idea that somebody's doing this or somebody's doing that. And that's not real. It's kind of like us with the Continuity Report itself, where we're like, look, they're not wearing the same clothes they were wearing 15 minutes earlier.
The coffee cup is entirely empty.
Yeah, they're carrying it around like a football, and you should be carrying it around like a newborn. So the fantasy part is there's no way we would ever be getting within 300 meters of a tornado. You'd lose an instrument every single time. But that's, I don't know. There are some pieces of equipment that I've seen that have been like hit by a tornado. And while something might get damaged by the winds, I don't know, 1,000 feet away from a tornado, I don't know. Again, they're the scientist. They're the storm hunter. So fine, you got to follow up. You got to listen to what they're saying, I suppose. They made a lot out of references and to certain parameters and environmental conditions, outflow and storm interactions and the cap. Those are all sciencey things that we look for. But the reason why a story is compelling is because there's a little bit of fact mixed with the fiction, and that makes it believable because it underpins the fiction, right? It grounds it. They said all this scientific-y stuff, so that's why I buy into it. It's basically Star Trek.
Okay.
They both highlight certain things, uncertainty around how exactly they form. For the most part, I think science knows how they form. It's the exchange of hot and cold air. And pressures change because of that hot and cold air. It's basically a fluid, but it's a very, it's not very viscous. How about that? So in the movie, it says we'll get up close to a tornado and shoot something into it. In real life, it's more like let's stay at a safe distance and shoot radar at it. Yeah, the radar is basically like an X-ray for the tornado. You can actually, and that's one of the things that can sit inside a tornado as it's getting closer. And will something get damaged? There's a really good possibility, but and then they talk about other things throughout this little bit. So they say
there's the absorbent polymers.
Yeah, and that's what I was really interested in getting to. So speaking of technology that may or may not exist, they're curious about the absorbent polymers from diapers to suffocate a tornado, and they imagine that people don't do that in real life. They say hypothetically speaking, it might be sort of possible, but the amount of material, I mean, you have to think about it as a tornado. There are kilotons of moisture. It is heavy duty. We're not talking about a baby diaper being good enough. So you'd need tons and tons of this material to be somehow ingested into the storm in the right spot at the right time. And honestly, the environmental implications of basically covering the earth with this, coupled with the implications of potentially using silver iodide, those would cause far more pressing issues than the tornado itself. And so, yeah, you spray silver iodide, it makes the moisture form around the particles of the silver iodide. They drop out of solution, get wicked up by the diapers, and then they fall to the ground. Meanwhile, though, you're looking at a tornado whipping these things around like bullets.
Particles of plastic.
Yeah, basically sanding the planet as they're moving along. So, yeah, it's kind of silly, but I wanted to talk about at least that little bit. And again, if you want to know more and you want to hear it from the scientist and storm chaser, then definitely follow this link over to Vulture. There is a whole lot more. It's much more comprehensive than what I'm talking about, mainly because it's a long form article, which Vulture is known for. And it's an interview with a scientist. So go check it out. Moving on. And I was curious about this one because, well, following after a tornado, this article is over in 4-Wheel Tech. Southwest flight comes within 150 feet of crashing into the ocean. This is apparently a new one. Another Southwest flight flew dangerously close to the ocean this month, and now the Federal Aviation Administration wants to know what the heck is going on at the airline.
Oh, I think I saw this and thought it was the other one.
Apparently not. Lawrence Hodge over at jalopnik.com put this article together. I guess Jalopnik covers anything that might have wheels that can land and drive fast.
Exactly.
It either drives fast or flies low. I fly low. This is the third flight in 4 months that's plunged within crashing distance of the ocean's surface. So my next flight, I hope I never fly over the ocean. It's like magnets. It's the antithesis of trains. Planes are allergic to the sky now and want to swim, and trains are allergic to their tracks and they want to go off-roading.
Yeah, we seem to be having a lot of transportation issues lately.
So the Florida flight is one of the 3 similar incidents that have happened in the last 4 months. Back in April, Southwest Flight 2786 near Hawaii plunged 4,000 feet per minute before coming within 400 feet. According to CNN, Southwest said the incident happened after bad weather conditions in an area forced the plane to abort a landing near Lihu, I think it is, airport on the island of Kauai. Then the Associated Press reported on June 18th a flight came within 525 feet of the ground, 9 miles out from the airport. Let's see. And then on July 14th, dropped within another plane dropped within 150 feet of the ocean surface, 5 miles out from landing. All 3 incidents have now caught the attention of the feds, who have opened a probe into the airline. Yeah. These latest incidents are part of a larger problem for Southwest and the aviation industry as a whole, from Boeing's plane safety mishaps to Southwest's massive flight meltdown during the 2023 holiday season, near misses on runways, airlines' mishandling of baggage. Does not seem like now is a good time to fly anywhere.
I mean, 3 flights in 4 months, that's pretty incredible.
Time to drive wherever you want to go. As long as you avoid train tracks, you're pretty safe.
That's right.
Yeah, I'll take a fender bender over, I don't know, evacuating everything in me in the plane as I'm approaching 150 feet of crashing into the ground. Yeah, I would pee my pants. Moving on.
TMI.
Yeah. Hey, if we're gonna share about a flight landing. What did they call that? A spontaneous disassembly?
Oh, right.
Yeah. So the next article is over in WarCrafters. CrowdStrike says, sorry for breaking everything. Here's $10 Uber Eats coupons. Last week, the world reacted as 8.5 million computers crashed to blue screens, grounding flights, crippling hospitals, bringing down 911 service and 911 services. This week, the world is reacting to the companies responsible. CrowdStrike. That's the name of the company that did this. Offering its staff and companies it works with a $10 Uber Eats voucher as a way of an apology. Yeah, John Walker over at Kotaku.
I'm not sure that cuts it.
Yeah, the cybersecurity firm adds insult to injury following Friday's worldwide catastrophe. What's its stock price at? Is it trading? I don't know. I don't remember if CrowdStrike is trading.
It had dropped quite a bit when we looked at it last time, but it was still a high.
Yeah, so to express...
It's a little lower than it was last time I checked.
Oh boy. Yikes.
Looks like it's dropped about $50 since we last looked at it.
Oh, wow. Well,
but that was like a week ago or something.
This is kind of a throat punch, you know? To express our gratitude, your next cup of coffee or late night snack is on us. Great. So given CrowdStrike's day job is to help companies respond in the event of a cyber attack, you might imagine damage control was a concept with which it had some manner of familiarity. Apparently not, at least not marketing.
It's dropped 34% in the past month, and most of that has been in obviously less than a month. And considering the stock price is at $254.15, 34% is a pretty big drop.
Yes. I should look at those, I should look at those. I have a whole show that I want to put together that talks about that kind of stuff, but hey, whatever. So there's only so many businesses that you can look at. So, and since I do 7 shows right now and cover 50 different segments of news, yeah, my information overload is only controlled because of ohmTown. So the BBC spotted a LinkedIn comment by one IT manager who says he works with CrowdStrike, quote, I received an email regarding the incident. The gesture of a cup of coffee or Uber Eats credit as an apology doesn't seem to make up for the tens of thousands lost in man hours and customer trust due to the July 19th incident. There's a lot more in this article, but it says insurance company Parametrics issued a booklet earlier this week outlining the effect of Friday's mishap on Fortune 500 companies, saying 25% were affected. The companies claims a total loss of $5.4 billion, excluding Microsoft itself. Parametrics says the healthcare sector was the worst affected, followed by banking and then airlines. Government agencies were hit by this, by the way. Some locations, state, I don't know about federal. People that I've asked have said that they weren't directly impacted. So the report says the healthcare companies lost an estimated $1.94 billion, with banking losing $1.15 billion and airlines a total of $860 million. And it's worth noting that Parametrics insures companies against such downtime losses, so it's in their interest to highlight such scale, although pumping it up to irrational numbers also allows them to go, hey, guess what? The costs are actually exorbitant. Your insurance is going up because, well, that company over there, whoever those guys are, they messed up. So your insurance rate is going to go up. So pick better the next time, right? It seems it's that kind of thing. You know, hey, look, natural disaster can happen. So we're pulling your insurance in Florida and California and Arizona and in Texas because climate change, which we've been ignoring for 40 years, is finally coming to roost in those states. So you don't get insurance from us. Yeah. Maybe that's what this is going to be brushed up against too. So, of course, even if companies are able to recover losses through insurance, the insurers are going to want their money back too. Ding. So we've reached out to CrowdStrike to ask for their thoughts on the reaction to the $10 coupons. Yeah, you got a better chance of getting a blue screen of death than you do a response from CrowdStrike. Back to that picture. They have a picture of a guy in front of the CrowdStrike complex.
Yeah, he looks a little upset.
Basically doing what Captain Picard, like, oh, God. All right, moving on. Next article is over in Right Protect, which is one of the shows that I actually want to bring online. It discusses copyright, trademark, intellectual property. And there's another one that I want to talk about. What the heck? Why isn't it showing the drop down? Oof.
I don't know. That's really odd.
That's new to me. Anyway, I'll have to take a look at it.
Time bandits are at work. Time
bandits. So AI has progressed within the last several years to do remarkable things. In February of this year, OpenAI unveiled Sora, an impressive text-to-video AI generator that produces high-quality videos. So let's go on over to IPWatchdog.com. Edward Russ Savage and Benjamin Nickerson put the article together for, again, IPWatchdog.com. And they have a little deck statement here. Actually, it's a quote. Not really a deck statement, but it's a quote. Due to the viral nature of AI-generated songs, record companies are put in a tough position of trying to defend the incredible volume of copyrighted works for which they own the licensing. Except the problem here is that anything that broaches a copyrighted work is going to get pursued legally as a breach of the copyright for that other work. And I think that's antithetical to the creative process. But when you have billions of dollars in total value to protect, you come out ablazing with attorneys. So all kinds of people are going to end up in court, including organizations and the people who use those organizations. So what is it? Suno and others are being taken. It's hard
to keep track of the names because they're all similar.
Yeah, even though OpenAI gets taken to court, and smaller organizations, startups that use AI are going to get taken to court if they're touching music, because a single strum of a guitar can be enough to trigger a lawsuit about copyright. And I think that's because the DMCA was created by the industry to protect the industry. and does not care one whit for individual creators who aren't part of the industry, the industry disruptors. So they say, hey, AI, make me a song by my favorite artist. But therein lies the rub. My favorite artist. So if it mimics Drake or The Weeknd, like one video did, and the music associated with it, and I don't say that it's Drake or The Weeknd, as long as I don't say that, it shouldn't freaking matter. It's not Drake's work. It's not The Weeknd's work. It's my work instructing and being okay with an AI, that exercise and compromise, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it says, in fact,
it's all about how it's framed, right?
It should be. I think it should be. But no, that's not how it works. Now, my problem with all of this is if you're trading on the names of the artists, then it's fraud, or it is copyright violation, or at least trademark violation, because Drake is a name brand, right? So you're trading on the goodwill, the reputation of Drake when you say my song is by Drake. No, it's not. It's an AI. If it's a cover, then you say it's a cover of a Drake song. But if it's a cover of a Drake song, it better be accurate as a cover of a Drake song. So record companies allege infringement, and that's because Udio and Suno arguably have used source material, and that source material trains the AI. But the problem is humans do the same thing. Humans listen to a bunch of music and they go, I really like that kind of music, so I'm going to sing like that, right? But nobody gets brought to the table for that, brought to the floor at least, right?
Right.
And if I say, well, I want it to sound like this person or that person, a human can do it all day long, but apparently AI can't, because it empowers people who don't go through hours and hours, years and years of training and dedication to the art. But it's empowering to use AI. And I think that's more important. And believe me, I come from a time when I first started making music where it was much harder than it is today. I come from a time when creating art was much more difficult than it is today.
Right,
it's only
it required
gotten easier.
like actual pen to paper or much more basic techniques for technology.
Yep. As I picked up technology, I felt the empowerment of technology enabling people to do everything that they've ever wanted to do. And so I accept this change. This is fighting against the inevitable, which is automation of the creation process, because it's still up to the creator to exercise compromise. You have to sit there and go, this is good enough. Like a photographer, like an author, like a music creator, like everything. At some point you have to go, I've done my best. This rises to the level that I agree is good enough to disclose to people, and then you do it. It is nothing more than a camera.
We saw what happened with the horses, right?
Which one?
Like the horses compared to automation.
Oh, right. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I get it.
Sorry, I was too vague.
No, I thought you were referring to like AI, a demonstration of horses, because we're using AI tools now to create virtualized life. It's getting so powerful that you can create it in 3 dimensions, right? So, like you say, as time went on, we moved from manpower to domesticating animals to now we use vehicles. Now we're using robots to replace the humans.
I mean, I know that isn't creative work, but it is work, and we have adapted.
It's the same. I agree. I totally I buy into that, because as we move past and innovate and automate, humans are going to ultimately be replaced. The bigger problem is we'll never have an economy that's based on art. there will be niche economies that are built, an ecosystem around art buying and selling. But people will appreciate the human creator much, much more. They will be in awe of the human creator, not the AI. And for me, I think that every time an AI piece of work is sold, it has to be disclosed that some or part of it was created by AI. And the artist who uses nothing but AI and is proud of the work will be able to say it. And the person who says, well, I took a sourced AI piece of work and I modified it so that it met what I wanted, would disclose it. Hey, I spent 5 hours augmenting this AI artwork into something that I want. And then I sold that. The artist will sit there and go, yep, I embrace that. The person who is a liar and a cheat and a manipulator and a fraud is the person that says, I didn't use AI, and it's a Drake artwork, no, all of that is a lie. All of it is a fiction and you're a fraud. So embrace it. I use AI artwork. Why? Because I don't have time to dedicate to creating hours worth of artwork, and not even hours, right? Like I'll spend hours trying to create an AI generated piece of art that meets my requirements. I actually have 2 tattoos on me right now that are sourced by AI, but augmented by
tailored by you.
Right. And then enhanced again by a tattoo artist. So it's unique pieces of art, but I just not for a moment do I think that there's a problem with it. So art is in the eye of the beholder. And if you don't like it as a human artist, don't buy into it. Promote your art. Is it going to get diluted? It might be, but every artist that comes online is diluting your artwork. Anyway, let's keep moving. We got to keep moving. Next article is over in the Mobile channel. Kevin Feige says Marvel's new Blade movie is going to be rated R. Dun dun dun. Plus, Superman and Lois prepares for the death of Superman, which was actually in a comic book. But Gordon Jackson over at Gizmodo.com put the article together, and it says there are spoilers in here. So I'm actually going to stop. Why? Because I absolutely love Blade. Okay, I have an anecdote. Many, many years ago, I created, before the Blade movie came out, the S-Glaive that became synonymous with Blade. I actually entered it into a competition, and then the magazine and my design, the magazine disappeared, and my design ended up in Blade. Am I saying that Blade took it? No. I'm saying that it's a quinky dink.
You came up with the same idea.
Yeah. And I loved my knife design. I think it was so damn cool. And I also came up with another design that was supposed to be the tooth from Puff the Magic Dragon, but Puff the Magic Dragon is symbolic of something else. It's an analogy for something else.
Yes, I think that means something else.
Yeah. But I made these 2 designs and entered them into a competition. So anyway, so I'm going to stop here.
Well, that's cool. I mean, you don't see much about Blade. I didn't even realize a new one was coming out.
Yep, it's come. I'm hoping that it's right around the corner, but for whatever reason, I don't really know when it's going to come out. So, but I'm not going to ruin it for anybody. This apparently has spoilers in the article, which I didn't know about when I selected these articles. But we're just going to jump right on over it. But if you are interested in this and learning a little bit about Blades, the new Blade movie, It being R is probably because there's going to be a whole lot of, well, blades going through things.
Well, I was going to say there might be some violence.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be basically a zombie survival movie, except that Blade he's a vampire. So, okay, let's keep on moving. The next article is over in the Hatch Ideas channel, which is all about business transformation. Cable, unaware, post office prosecuted sub-postmasters. And I don't know where this person could have been. Sir Vince, who was business secretary between 2010 and 2015, admitted some responsibility for the scandal, which should end somebody's career.
And they're probably taking records of everything, like, I don't know, the prosecutions.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, I wonder, is that really going to block me? I hope that doesn't block me. I'm not logged in. So BBC.com is the source of this. Greg Clark, who held the position from 2016 to 2019, told the post office IT scandal inquiry the management culture of the post office was insensitive and dismissive to the point of abject rudeness, which is understating incarceration.
Yes, I don't think that quite cuts it.
Yeah, the abject rudeness is absurd statement there. The prosecutions against sub-postmasters in a way that was corrupt, unreliable, and totally unconscionable, a former business secretary has said. However, like former business secretary Vince Cable, who appeared before the inquiry on Thursday morning, Mr. Clark said the post office had not made him aware of any issues. I think they actually talk about it. In what has been called the UK's most widespread miscarriage of justice, more than 900 sub-postmasters were prosecuted between 1999 and 2015. The entirety of the tenure of Mr. Cable and Greg Clark came in after the prosecutions. Well, yes. Yeah, might as well just say after the prosecutions, but definitely... it's an oddity that for 16 years, 900 people, what's wrong? 900
I'm
people.
just trying to figure out the time frames and everything. Yeah. I mean, presumably you'd be missing all kinds of people filling positions, right?
Yeah.
When the person came in, like, what happened?
So Greg Clark coming in at 2016 had to have been made aware that there were 900 sub-postmasters incarcerated or prosecuted for stealing. Now, the thing is that Horizon was mathematically incorrect. It was functionally... it was a functional failure. It was a horrible deployment. And during the prosecutions of these 900 sub-postmasters in 15 years, okay, what's the math there? 40 a year? Something like that?
That sounds about right.
No. 50 a year is 800. So, yeah, somewhere
like
around
51 or so a year.
Yeah, around 50 a year. So that's for a month for 16 years.
I mean, that seems like that would have been almost a full-time job for somebody managing all of that in the company.
Wild. Yeah, so coming on board a year after this period of time, you'd think that the cultural awareness would have been revealed to them. Hey, we've had 900 sub-postmasters and a serious problem. So in 2017,
even at the worker level, that had to have been widespread knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Even if you weren't one of the affected group, like if you were coming in after them,
you would be afraid, fearing for your career. In 2017, 555 of them took legal action against the post office. In 2019, it agreed to pay them $58 million in compensation, but much of the money went on legal fees.
During his time there.
Yeah, and that's a really shit deal. The High Court judgment found that the Horizon IT software contained a large number of software defects and was not remotely robust, which caused shortfalls with sub-postmaster accounts that were a material risk. That shortfalls in the post office branch accounts were caused by the system. So he said he kept nuclear options on the table to resolve Horizon litigation, including firing the entire board. This came up because Mr. Clark said that he was angry and accused the post office of playing a legal game for tactical reasons when the post office said that it would appeal the judgment. Honestly, $58 million does not compensate for the career losses that would have been gained by being a sub postmaster in perpetuity. You know, you're there until you die kind of a job. Because you have to really screw up to get punted as a sub postmaster. You move up.
Well, you would think, but yes.
So they go into greater detail about this, but there really isn't much more to say because I'm not sure where this is actually going to end. It says instead the post office was split from the Royal Mail Group under Sir Vince's watch and remains a government-owned entity. Mr. Beer questioned why Sir Vince, despite raising these concerns, was not aware of serious problems with Horizon until 2015, and a letter from 2012 signed by Sir Vince to then Labor leader Ed Miliband said that he remains fully confident about the robustness and integrity of the Horizon software. So he was aware, but didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
So doesn't seem to care, seem to give a shit.
Right. At least not making that apparent.
The problem was there were about several hundred letters and emails that would come in every day, he said, adding that he was on international visits at the time. So, yeah, international visits. What the hell are you doing as a...
How do you have any international business?
Labor
should
leader.
All be domestic.
Yeah, well, I guess he's the labor leader, so... It's just fascinating. Fascinating. What kind of a spike goes from nobody being prosecuted to 900 in 16 years? And barely 16 years. You'd have to really push.
I mean, what were people like the, I don't know, not really the accountants, but
HR.
Anybody who crunched numbers, right, would look at this and go, what, you know, like you'd see a chart and there'd be a flat line and then there'd be an intense spike.
Yeah, the HR office of the post office, for crying out loud. It's absurd. And then they break it off, right, to cover their ass, at least in my perception. So who knows? Everybody's got an opinion. Mine certainly finds fault with the post office and Horizon, and it's Fujitsu, right? Fujitsu is the one that created the Horizon software. Yeah, I would be suing the shit out of Fujitsu.
Well, and I don't remember, I think there were people that didn't participate in the settlement, right?
Right. Well, and it shouldn't even matter. I get compensation from the post office because they failed, but the liability, because of the ineptitude of the software, I think culpability still falls on Horizon.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Those are separate things.
Yep. Okay. Last article for today is over in Non Sequitur News. Quote, I went on a secret holiday for a month without telling my boss. Using a mouse jiggler to avoid suspicion, I'd do it again. That's the title of this article. It's actually over at Business Insider, as told to Carissa Chong at businessinsider.com.
What kind of job does that person have where they don't have to actually produce any work?
I don't know. The article has three deck statements of a sort. As a self-described quiet quitter, this tech employee spends most of their time avoiding work. They've also started quiet vacationing, taking time off to travel without telling their employer. And earlier this year, they spent a month in Italy, but only used 1 week of paid time off. So it's an as told to essay and transcribed from a conversation about an employee who's on a quiet vacation for a month. So
most bosses would kind of notice that the person wasn't really there or wasn't giving them any reports or whatever they would do.
This is fascinating. Their team manages a database. It's not rocket science and involves a lot of copying and pasting, so they have a lot of free time. 3 years into the job, they feel like they got sucked into a corporation that doesn't care about its employees. They introduced an RTO, return to office policy last year. When they found out, they were furious. They often find ways to avoid coming in even though they're supposed to. They became a quiet quitter, started quiet vacationing. And they want to keep quiet vacationing in the future. Traditional expectations around working 9 to 5 are outdated, and it's good to see employees taking back their time, is what they say. So the article kind of goes on and on. But a mouse jiggler, this is why I wanted to talk about it. A mouse jiggler is basically a piece of software that does something for you. Back in the day, early days of MMOs like World of Warcraft, it's still used today, but basically you never wanted to time out because you'd get disconnected. And if you got disconnected, then you wouldn't be able to do certain things. So you run a
right,
piece of
like
software.
what if you were in the queue for 5 hours or something and then
Yep, exactly.
dropped?
Yeah, that's why a lot of people use them. So you basically install a mouse jiggler. Now there's a company out here right now that is using they have an early access game. They put a demo out on Steam. They have a piece of software that is similar to, if not Denuvo. But it's basically this anti-cheat software. Now, depending on what you're doing, anti-cheat software is fine. I have no problem with live services doing that kind of stuff because they don't want people to do like botting, which is using software to control something automatically, which is similar to a mouse jiggler, or cheating where they edit the code that comes in and goes out so that you can see where the enemy is or control the usually it's for that kind of stuff.
Cheat the game, right?
Auto aim, well, not just the game, but opponents in a competitive space. What's weird about it is eventually you get caught, or you get caught because you're so good that attention gets leveraged at you, and then you try to be competitive in the real world and people go, you're a liar, you're a faker, you're a cheat, and then you get banned. But in this case, a mouse jiggler basically allowed this person to take a vacation. They said that they used a mouse jiggler to make what seems like their online activities. It says it's a USB that you plug into your computer and your mouse goes crazy. It's a lifesaver. When they were in a museum, they checked their messages on their phone every 30 minutes or so. Most of the time there weren't any to reply to. They say that they've probably taken about 2 months of secret time off. Whenever they were gone for a day, they just turn on the mouse jiggler and away it goes. And they say rigid expectations around work are archaic. I agree. I get paid to do X amount of work, but for the employer says, I pay you to do 8 hours worth of work, but then you get more and more and more and more work. Look at Six Sigma. It says you have to hit this number of, you have to touch this number of documents and increase quality. But nowhere in your contract should it say, or does it say, if you do X number of contracts or X number hours, if you perform this many tasks, does it say, well, you did it in 4 hours, so let me give you 4 more hours worth of work. Just because you're good at your job.
Why not just be done with whatever the quantity is?
Right. Assign an amount of work and be done with it. But I shouldn't have to increase 10% month over month. I shouldn't have to, if I have time to lean, I should be able to,
choose to clean.
Clean, yeah. Working at home increases my efficiency and effectiveness because I'm more comfortable and I don't have to worry about distractions from coworkers, and I have self-control and impulse control. So why not? And I don't get paid to travel to the location, so leave me at home. And if I do 8 hours worth of work in 4 hours, it's because I'm damn good at my job. So do I have a problem with somebody using a mouse jiggler to cheat work? Yes. Do I have a problem with work saying, well, you were only on the job for 4 hours and I pay you for 8 hours. Well, I did my job, 8 hours worth of work in 4 hours. Well, now I'm going to add on more work. So I don't get rewarded for being fast and efficient and capable. I get punished by having to do more work.
Right, so you burn out your best employees.
Right. Yep. So, and that's really funny because that's an actual quote from somebody in a job that's no longer at that job. Yet, let's just say there were complications there too. Anyway, it's kind of fascinating. A mouse jiggler actually allows somebody, if your job basically amounts to a mouse jiggler allowing you to take a month off, there's something wrong with the job.
Correct. I mean, most jobs, that wouldn't work.
Right.
You'd barely make it an hour without somebody being like, okay, where's that person?
Yep.
Even if it's not an on-site job, even if you're accessible by phone or message or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty typical not being able to go an hour without somebody pinging someone
Lucky
in a
if you
position.
get 5 minutes in a lot of jobs.
Yep. So this person probably should back off a little bit. But again, I think that the workplace is abusive. You don't have any bargaining power except to go somewhere else. And usually there's a financial burden on you where you're kind of entrenched and you can't just get up and walk. But you have to be ready to do that. Should an employer decide to keep on tacking stuff on? Oh, look how many they did. Let's tack on 10 more. Oh, look, they did those 2 in 2 hours. That means that they've got 2 hours left in their workday. Let's tack on 10 more. It's abusive.
Or you produced 100 last month. Why are you only at 80 this month?
Yeah, exactly. Well,
even though the standard's 50 or whatever.
Whatever it might be. Yeah. Yep. I think that work is abusive. You're surprised that people are like, well, let's do basic income and I'll enjoy just sitting around, Pretty soon automation is going to take humans' jobs to a greater and greater extent with artificial intelligence. As soon as artificial intelligence stops spitting out bullshit. Anyway.
Right.
Ta-da. Hey, that's it. Look at that. So I'm going to activate my mouse jiggler, which take it how you want. And that'll move us back to the front page of ohmTown.com. And we will say thank you very much for hanging out for another episode of Non Sequitur News. I am Mayor Watt, and that is the Sentient AI.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Non Sequitur News. Be back tomorrow about 8 p.m.
And maybe sooner. We'll see.
Or maybe early.
Yeah, because I might actually do a couple of Saturday's shows on Friday. Yeah.
Say what?
Yeah, because next week is actually going to be, well, we're going to have to put a pause of sorts.
We will get the episodes done, but they might be at a bit off times.
Yeah, there's going to be some time machine activity next week. We won't be streaming because Mayor Watt has a bunch of mayoral duties to attend to. Welcome to the new fiscal year. Jiggle, jiggle, jiggle.